even though I don't think this it completely clears our area this evening. Show you those rain totals over the last 24 hours in case you missed this earlier. We don't want any more rain, that's for sure. I had a little water in my basement this morning, and a lot of our rivers and creeks and streams are running high. These are some actual rain gauges across our regions. Some of these are maintained better than others, but most of this data looks pretty good to me this evening. Most of this data looks legit. A general inch to 2 inches, probably a bad reading over there towards Slippery Rock, but a general inch to 2 inches just over the last 24 hours. And when we go back 48 hours, these are official observations at most regional airports. 1.32 inches at the Youngstown Warren Airport in Vienna, but look at these numbers across Interstate 70, 3 inches in Zanesville, almost 3 in Columbus, and a good 2.5 or so from Pittsburgh over towards Wheeling. So, yeah, a lot of rain, especially last night and this morning. It really, really poured in a lot of areas last night into the first half of the day today. It was a good morning to sleep in if you didn't have to get up and go to work. That is for sure. All right, so welcome everyone to our live streaming coverage. If you're new to our coverage, we do these live streams when we have the threat for severe weather, especially that will impact far eastern Ohio and western PA. If you're new to how we kind of display things graphically, you may not be used to radars displaying lightning like this, where you see a lot of plus signs. All of that is lightning. We differentiate on our radar products between negative voltage lightning, positive voltage lightning, because even though it's all dangerous, the ones that have a positive voltage have a higher voltage, and they tend to hit things on the ground more than the negative voltage strikes, which more often than not stay up in the clouds. But the positive voltage strikes, those are the ones that like to come down and hit trees and hit other things on the ground. So those tend to be a little more dangerous. But as I always say, all lightning is dangerous. You got to take it all seriously. All right, new severe thunderstorm warning, Coshocton, Guernsey, Muskingum, Noble, and Tuscarawas. So let's show you that one that just came across the wire. That's going to be this one. So this is southern Tuscarawas, down into the Cambridge area. This is for the storm that produced the tornado warning back towards Zanesville. The circulation is still evident, but pretty unclear as to whether it remains a big threat. The circulation now north and east of Zanesville. The Weather Service opted for a new severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado possible tag instead of a new tornado warning due to the uncertainty whether we have a legit circulation. Again, we're in kind of radar no man's land here until this stuff gets closer to Interstate 77 and points east of there. You get closer to the Pittsburgh radar. Stuff is really hard to track on the radar in terms of the wind data. We can track the rain data fairly easily, but when we try to pick out which direction the wind is blowing, how fast it's blowing, whether or not we're getting a circulation in the wind field, the farther you are away from a radar source, the harder it is to do that, because the radar beam is sampling the storm up several thousand feet. And that's data that isn't real useful. It's maybe not real pertinent as to what's going on down here near the ground where we are. We don't care if it's a tight circulation at 7,000 feet above our heads necessarily. We want to know if there's a tight circulation 500 feet or 1,000 feet above our heads. And again, it's a challenge in these kind of radar holes, in Southeast Ohio is definitely one of those holes. Back here in the greater Youngstown area, not a lot going on here locally, but that's going to change here as we head towards 9 o'clock. I think the 9 and 10 o'clock hours will be pretty wet here locally. We have a couple of lightning strikes over towards Canton and Alliance, but everything there is sub-severe. We are going to keep an eye on this warned cell down here, southeast of New Philly and Uricksville. If this holds together, this could bring a gusty round of weather, a noisy round of weather to communities along the Route 39 corridor from Carrollton over towards Mechanicstown, over towards Salineville, Highlandtown, over towards East Liverpool, Wellsville, Glenmore, Calcutta, maybe as far north as West Point and Lisbon as well. But that remains to be seen. That's why we have a severe thunderstorm warning until the top of the hour at 9 for many of those communities down towards Route 250 and Route 22 down towards Cadiz. That's the nearest warned cell to our television viewing area right now, but we have a whole slew of warnings. Look at all this stuff. It looks like, again, spilled paint. Let's clean this up a little bit. We'll take off the radar momentarily here. You can see all that's going on. All the kind of teal colors are flood advisories. All the orange colors are severe thunderstorm warnings. All these purple colors are tornado warnings. The green, flash flood warnings. Weather Service offices have been very busy today, that is for sure. This is a dynamic system that's moving through the area. All right, so let's take a little bit of a peek at let's take another peek at that Pittsburgh radar data. Again, we're pretty far away, but may be able to find something useful here. You can kind of pick it out right here, the circulation. Adamsville, Dresden, just east of Zanesville. This is a storm that means some business here along Route 22 and Interstate 70 in southeast Ohio. For the first time here in our live coverage, let's take off the warning information. We'll do a little storm track here, show you the kind of expected arrival times for a lot of this activity. Along the kind of warned part of this storm down here, we're probably looking at close to the top of the hour once you get towards East Liverpool, towards Toronto, along the Ohio River. Wellsville, 9:08, East Liverpool again, 9 o'clock, 9:10, something like that. And maybe as far north as Lisbon as we head towards 9:15. Again, that's for the cell that currently has a severe thunderstorm warning on it down to our south. For the other activity, again, this is going to be kind of a rough estimate because the radar is so messy down through here, but let's track starting like right here, and we'll do something like maybe like this. Just rough, rough times here, but for kind of sort of the leading edge of our cluster of storms. And again, this is a little bit hard because everything's kind of messy here. But, looking at for this main line that's closer to Interstate 70 or approaching Interstate 77, I should say, right now, we're looking at about 9:30 East Liverpool, maybe a little before that in Lisbon. And yes, you're going to get some rumbles and some rain out of this farther to the north in Youngstown and Boardman and Poland and Warren and places like that, Sharon. But the severe weather risk is definitely lower in those locations. So, we're looking at a pretty busy, I think, 9 o'clock hour and maybe parts of the 10 o'clock hour as well, as all this activity is moving pretty quickly. That's the one thing that is nice this evening because, again, we don't want any more rain. Everything's moving at least 50 miles per hour. So the forward speed is definitely working in our favor. So the heaviest of the weather is not going to sit over one location for very long. You can see it's a pretty wide swath here. But at the very least, it is moving at a pretty rapid pace. All right, thanks. So once again to everyone who's joining me, big crowd here on YouTube and on Facebook this evening. Thanks to all your comments. Thanks for all your comments, I should say. Carla mentioning on Facebook, they never go into anything for Mercer County. It's like once they hit the PA Ohio line, they stop paying attention. Carla, we have been streaming now for about 40 minutes, and we're going to keep repeating ourselves over and over again. And apologies if I haven't mentioned Mercer in the last 5 minutes. But generally, the idea here is that Mercer County is very unlikely to have severe weather this evening, as we've been talking about all day and all evening. The risk for severe weather is definitely highest to the south, down towards Columbiana County. Once you get into Mahoning County, and especially up into Trumbull and Mercer counties, the risk is not zero, but it's pretty low for any severe weather in those locations. Some rain, some rumbles of thunder, yes, but the risk for damaging wind gusts and isolated tornadoes quite a bit higher off to the south. That's just the nature of working in the media, in television. Everybody thinks you hate their hometown. And, well, That's not true at all. Just you can't mention every single location every single minute. You just have to keep repeating yourself as much as you can. So this is what the radar looks like as of 8:42. Let's put the warning information back on. And we are looking at a severe thunderstorm warning still in effect until the top of the hour around the Cadiz area, south of Columbiana County. And we have a couple of tornado warnings still out for Zanesville and Cambridge along and just north of Interstate 70 and coming over towards the I-77 corridor into southeast Ohio, and this is south of Tuscarawas County, down closer to Cambridge, the 77 and Interstate 70 interchange, getting a doozy of a storm right now. I went to school at Ohio State and drove up into Tuscarawas County many times over the years from the Columbus area, so I'm very familiar with this part of Ohio, and that's a particular intersection of interstates, I-70 and 77. So, yeah, they're getting a doozy of a storm around there right now. Lots of flood warnings and watches out as well. Mentioned this earlier, but yeah, we've had too much rain, and for good reason. The Weather Service offices have been busy issuing flood watches today for almost the entire state of Pennsylvania and a good chunk of Ohio as well. The areas that are not under a flood watch in Ohio include far northern Ohio, western Ohio as well, northwestern Pennsylvania, including Mercer County, not under a flood watch. But you are on a flood watch in Lawrence County, PA, in Mahoning and Columbiana counties in Ohio, and the rest of eastern Ohio and western PA as well. Weather Service is going to expire the tornado warning for Muskingum County. Weather Service in Pittsburgh is concerned about a long duration rain event exacerbating flooding around the Pittsburgh metro area here in about an hour. They've had a lot of rain. They've had over 2 inches of rain in Pittsburgh over the last 48 hours, and they certainly don't need any more down there. And there is growing concern for this heavy rain corridor coming east and bringing unwelcomed amounts of rain to far eastern Ohio, the panhandle of West Virginia, and into western PA as well. All right, so more questions on social media. What about this town? What about that town? Thanks to everyone who's just joining us. We've been online now for about 45 minutes, and we'll keep this up here into the 9 o'clock hour to kind of babysit everything coming east and make sure we don't have a whole slew of warnings. The severe weather risk in our television viewing area in the Youngstown area, highest to the south, lower to the north. Not much of a severe weather risk once you go north of 224 up into the Youngstown area and certainly up into Trumbull and Mercer. Your chances increase of a gusty storm before the evening is through as you go off towards Salem, Columbiana, the Route 30 corridor, including the Lisbon area, down towards East Liverpool and the Ohio River. And the overall risk is probably at its highest right now, down towards Route 22, closer to Interstate 70. So think places like Uricksville, Denison, Cambridge, and eventually Wheeling and Steubenville, and eventually Pittsburgh. That's probably going to be our hotspot here as we go through the evening. Evelyn on YouTube mentioning hearing thunder near Newton Falls and Lordstown right now. Yeah, we are getting some rumbles, that is for sure. And rain and rumbles will remain a possibility in these areas that I'm saying that the severe weather risk is low. You can have some rumbles of thunder, and we're picking up some lightning strikes right now around Craig Beach and Palmyra, Newton Falls area. So that's what you're hearing right now, some lightning and thunder in through there. There's a few more lightning strikes back towards, North Canton, heading over towards Atwater, Alliance area as well. All that is just some kind of garden variety thunder activity and nothing real concerning in those locations. Yeah, I do think this is going to pan out to be mostly to the south of Route 30 in this zone that I'm drawing right here. So southern Columbiana County, Hancock County, Jefferson County, Beaver County, PA, heading down towards the greater Pittsburgh area. Wheeling, Steubenville, Cambridge, Cadiz, probably around and south of Dover, New Philly. That's going to be the corridor in the next hour that has the best chance of these storms meaning some business as they roll on through. I think the writing is on the wall. That's where our hotspot is going to be. And again, for those who are just joining us, we'll keep kind of repeating ourselves a little bit. Tornado watch in effect this evening from Columbiana County on south. This includes Carroll, Tuscarawas, into Beaver County, PA, Jefferson County, Hancock County, the greater Pittsburgh area. No watches north of there. There won't be any watches north of there. You will never be under a tornado or a severe thunderstorm watch in Mahoning County, Trumbull County, Mercer County, probably not Lawrence County either this evening. All the severe weather looks to miss you to the south. But we do have an elevated risk, that is for sure, once you go far enough to the south. And this includes some of our communities in the far southern part of Columbiana County. So we got to keep, due diligence here through the 9 o'clock hour in East Liverpool and West Point and Salineville, and heading back towards Atwood Lake in Carroll County, and then south of there, closer to Cadiz, Bergholz, I think that's how you say it, down towards Route 22 as well. I've got pronunciations pretty down for, most Eastern Ohio communities, but there's still a few that, every now and then just kind of trip me up in the moment. That's definitely one of them. When I first started at WFMJ, I had to learn all the really tough ones like Salineville, East Palestine, not Palestine. When I first came here and was not familiar with some of these communities, I had to learn those pretty quickly so that you don't look silly on television or on live streams like this. So, but I've been here long enough now that I know all of those. I could recite all of those in my sleep. That is for sure. Anyway, tornado warning still out. This is down near the Cambridge area. Pretty healthy circulation still down here. Now we're getting closer to the Pittsburgh radar source. And so the radar data is becoming a little more useful, but it's still not great. Seems to me there's still a pretty decent enough circulation northwest of Cambridge, back towards Adamsville right now. And again, to the untrained eye, it looks like spilled paint. What we're looking for here is what we call a couplet. A couplet of what we're looking at here is the wind direction and speed. The brighter blues, the faster the winds. The winds that are blowing towards the Pittsburgh radar site are in the greens and blues. Any winds that are blowing away from the Pittsburgh radar site are more gray and then eventually red and yellow. We don't see a lot of red and yellow, but this right here, a little circulation still. It's not a real great couplet, but again, we're pretty far away from the Pittsburgh radar source. It's really not until you get across I-77 that you start to have some much better data from the Pittsburgh radar. Mentioned earlier on this live stream, it's a frustrating part of radar meteorology, that there are radar holes in the United States, and one of them is in Southeast Ohio, where you're really far from most radar sites. And so picking out wind data when you're really far away is tough. You can see the rain and snow pretty well, but when the radar beam is sampling a storm 7,000 feet above our heads, that doesn't tell you a whole lot about any circulations that are happening below that radar beam, and circulations below that beam closer to 1,000 feet above our heads. That's what we really care about when we're trying to pick out potential tornadic circulations. Back here in our television viewing area, for those just joining, and if you're watching on YouTube and not from my television market, I'm a television meteorologist in Youngstown, which is near the Ohio-Pennsylvania line. We have some rain, we have some rumbles. Right now, the most common rumbles are in our western part of Columbiana County, Mahoning County, and southwestern Trumbull. All of this is sub-severe and just some mood, lightning and thunder, if you will. Nothing to really be all that concerned about. We just don't want any more rain, and some of this rain is coming down at a decent clip from Newton Falls back towards Craig Beach, down towards Berlin, Sebring, Beloit, back towards New Franklin as well. And some bouts of heavier rain will start occurring in more and more communities here as we head towards the top of the hour and into the 9 o'clock hour. So Warren, Niles, heading down towards Austintown, Canfield, Ellsworth, Salem, New Garden, Hanoverton, Lisbon. Those are some of the places they're going to see some pretty decent rain rates once again here in the near term, and I think you will pretty soon in Salineville as well. The farther north and northeast you are, the longer it's going to be until you get in on some of this heavier rain action, better chances of lightning and thunder. So if you're watching from Sharon, Greenville, Mercer, Grove City, Fredonia, Newcastle, New Wilmington, Slippery Rock, it's going to be closer to 10 o'clock before a lot of you see some heavier rain rates and some flashes of lightning and some thunder. actually I'm going to go off camera on our streams here for just a moment. It's on a couple of our streams while I post to social media. Going to post an update on that warned storm south of our TV viewing area. Yes, thanks for bearing with me there. Whenever I do these live streams, it becomes, especially if it's really busy and we have a lot of warnings, it becomes increasingly difficult to do other things other than just talk to you here on on the live stream. Got to remember that occasionally I've got to keep people abreast of what's going on who may not be watching this stream, just my regular social media followers. So got to feed that beast sometimes as well. And right now, since we don't have any active warnings in our television viewing area, it's a little easier for me to step away for a minute and take care of that business. But yeah, it's a challenge sometimes if we've got a whole bunch of warnings to stop talking long enough to post to social media. Again, this is a warned storm that the warning is going to expire in 6 minutes, and it looks to me like they probably will not extend the warning farther to the north and east. I don't see anything too crazy going on with this warned storm around Cadiz. This is approaching Island Creek, Burgles, Salineville eventually as well. I think this is going to be a heavy storm that's coming towards East Liverpool, though. Salineville, Highlandtown, Glenmore, Calcutta as well. I think this will be a pretty noisy, hefty storm with some heavy rain and some lightning. We certainly don't want any more rain down in this part of our area. But it looks to me to be sub-severe right now, so I'm going to be surprised if we have an additional warning issued with this. I think this warning will be allowed to expire at 9 p.m. And a new warning downstream to me seems pretty unlikely as this comes in this direction like this. But we're going to continue to keep an eye on that. In fact, there you go. The Pittsburgh Weather Service office is going to expire that severe thunderstorm warning. Graphically speaking, this is going to stay on our graphic system for another couple of minutes, but they just expired or discontinued this warning right here, the one I was just talking about. So they're seeing what I'm seeing, and that cell looks sub-severe right now. Here's our active tornado warning down across southeast Ohio near the intersection of I-70 and 77, right around Cambridge. This circulation is pretty ragged, and again, it's a challenge to put much stock in the radar data because of where it's at exactly, which is pretty far away from most radar sites. But there could still be some circulation in through here, right around the Cambridge area. Will this impact our television viewing area up towards Youngstown? That seems unlikely to me. It looks to me like this will continue to be more of a threat for areas just north of Interstate 70, and maybe eventually this particular cell could be more of a threat for the Weirton area, places like that. Steubenville, maybe just north of Wheeling. But for the heart of our TV viewing area, I don't think that tornado warned circulation that we're looking at right now is going to be too much of a threat. It probably is going to miss us to the south. Here's the radar loop as we approach the top of the hour. We'll keep this live stream going for a little while longer. I'm going to keep it going as long as we have the threat anyway for any severe weather in our television market. Once I don't think we will have any, I'll kind of discontinue this and get ready for our 11 o'clock newscast. But we're approaching 9 p.m. We started this at 8 p.m. in anticipation of a low-end severe weather threat for the greater Youngstown area, higher risks to our south. The overall risk all day today became more and more apparent that this is going to be more of a Interstate 70 special, if you will. And yeah, some areas north of there certainly getting some heavy storms. But the risk is overall a fair amount lower once you get into Northeast Ohio and into Northwest PA as well. The reason for that, didn't warm up very much in our area today. It got into the 50s, but the warm front really has struggled to lift much farther north than our area. That warm front has been very plain, very easy to see when you bring up the dew points. Dew points are a measure of how much moisture is in the air, and you can kind of see where our warm front is. It's kind of like right here. And because it didn't lift all the way through and completely clear our area, the atmosphere around the Youngstown area and into western PA, across the I-79 corridor, the I-80 corridor in western PA, atmosphere is just not as unstable here locally. We just don't have the ingredients, quite as good of ingredients, quite as good of a recipe, if you will, for severe weather in our part of the Buckeye State and into western PA. As Columbus, where dew points got into the 60s for a while today, the sun came out for a little while, the atmosphere destabilized, got into the 70s temperature-wise in southwest Ohio earlier on today. So that's the reason why our risk is lower here locally. It's also the reason why the tornado watch, which was issued about maybe an hour and a half ago at this point, does not include most of Northeast Ohio and Northwest PA. It includes Columbiana County and points south. They're going to start chopping away at this tornado watch here pretty soon, the western side of it. These watches are issued by the Storm Prediction Center in Norman, Oklahoma, and then the local National Weather Service offices are responsible for babysitting the watches, discontinuing them as they see fit. The Storm Prediction Center kind of hands the responsibility off to our local our local National Weather Service offices. And real quickly, I'll find a graphic here, just in case, for those who are watching who don't know. Let's see here. Find a graphic that displays who covers our local area. These counties are covered by the Cleveland National Weather Service office. It includes in our television viewing area Mahoning and Trumbull. The rest of our viewing area is covered by the Pittsburgh National Weather Service office. That includes Columbiana County, Mercer, and Lawrence counties, covered by the Pittsburgh National Weather Service office. So our television market is served by two different weather service offices. The Wilmington, Ohio office covers Columbus, Cincinnati, Dayton. Wilmington is near I-71, about halfway between Columbus and Cincinnati. So, and Northwest Ohio is kind of covered a mix between Cleveland, an office that's based in northwestern Indiana, and also the Detroit National Weather Service office covers a couple of counties in Northwest Ohio. Someone on YouTube mentioning they're starting to hear the thunder in Wellsville. Someone on YouTube asking, why are the strike numbers moving up and down? As I move around on the maps, the strike numbers change. And also, that's an instantaneous reading of how much lightning there is. And that, of course, changes almost every second. So that's why another reason why some of those numbers will change. One tornado warning on the map this evening. And actually right now we only have one severe thunderstorm warning. And that's with the circulation that's around Cambridge right now. Everything else is sub-severe. And that's what we like to see. Let's head back into our television viewing area here and show you what's going on. Again, seeing some comments about hearing some rumbles of thunder, and you certainly are in some places. Right now, we have a couple of lightning strikes. Pretty good lightning show in western Mahoning County. This is out along 224 near Berlin, and then heading up 534 closer to Craig Beach and into the Newton Falls area as well. A few claps of thunder out there. This is coming towards Route 45, Lordstown down towards Ellsworth. And we're getting some pockets of heavier rain. Hartford, Yankee Lake, Vienna, Fowler, Cortland. Rain's lighter elsewhere. Getting some rumbles, though, in southern Columbiana County, where it's starting to rain at a decent clip, and more pronounced lightning down here, closer to Route 22, around the Steubenville area. Hopedale. This is the part or the little appendage of the storm system that had a warning on it earlier, a severe thunderstorm warning, but that was allowed to expire at the top of the hour at 9 o'clock. It looks sub-severe. It's a noisy storm, but it looks largely sub-severe right now. I'm going to, continue babysitting that one. Actually, now that we're looking at that storm, let's look at what we call the terminal radar out of the Pittsburgh area. We're looking at velocity data here, and I don't see anything really crazy. Don't see any bright reds or greens. Let's look at the more powerful Pittsburgh Doppler radar close to the Pittsburgh airport. And again, not really picking up on a whole lot of wind out here. So it's a noisy storm, but sub-severe. Well, I'll tell you, when you look at the storm reports over the last couple of days, boy, has it been busy. Let's actually plot up, while we have a second, the last 48 hours of storm reports. And look at this mess across the country. It's been an active first couple of days of April nationwide, including a handful of tornadoes out in Oklahoma and Kansas, so one in Illinois. We had a couple down in the Tennessee Valley. Had a funnel cloud report earlier, southeast of Columbus. Let's actually query that one and see what that text says. That was around Fairfield at 8:11, a funnel cloud. No report of anything touching the ground, though. And, of course, a lot of reports of flooding across eastern Ohio into western PA as well. There's our tornado warning until 9:30. Again, this is southeast Ohio around the intersection of Interstate 70 and 77 around Cambridge. We've been tracking this circulation since it was back towards Zanesville along Interstate 70. The circulation to me does not look super impressive, but you got to take that with a bit of a grain of salt because of where this is located. Pretty far away from most radar sources, although it's getting closer to the Pittsburgh radar, and we will continue watching that. That's the only thing that has a warning on it that is in eastern Ohio right now. So, it looked all afternoon like the instability, the ingredients for severe weather would lower substantially as we got into the evening across the state, the eastern part of the state, I should say. And when you look at this modeled instability index or convective available potential energy, it's CAPE, CAPE is what we call it in the weather business. It all is pretty low. This is not a very unstable atmosphere. It's not a particularly hot and humid atmosphere. A lot of wind shear aloft, though. But the atmosphere itself is not really unstable. It was more unstable earlier out here when the sun came out for a little while and dew points got up into the 60s. But these are pretty meager instability numbers across eastern Ohio and into western Pennsylvania as well. We can kind of look at an indice here that is kind of a mix of instability and wind shear. And coming in, this is what it looked like earlier. And then this evening, you can kind of see how those values start to decrease. So this was earlier. This is more now. So everything is kind of encountering an environment that is just not as good as it was earlier on today. And this is a good thing. Some people root for storms. Some people like a good thunderstorm. And I count myself amongst those people who enjoys a good thunderstorm, but you don't want to root for severe weather. Anytime you find yourself maybe rooting for heavy storms, damaging storms, even, you got to remember that, that potentially is someone's livelihood that is being impacted greatly by a heavy storm. So you got to be a little bit careful not rooting too much for these things. In our television viewing area, again, we've got a pretty good lightning show ongoing right now in Mahoning County, especially. Fair amount of lightning and thunder out towards Ellsworth and Berlin. This is coming across Route 45 right now. This is sub-severe, but it's a pretty good bout of rain. A little puff of wind. Doesn't look to me that there's anything more than pea-sized hail, and that's probably even pushing it. I think this is mostly just a few rumbles of thunder embedded in some pockets of heavy rain in western Mahoning County right now. And it's raining at a pretty good clip now in western, southern, and central parts of Columbiana County, getting some soakers around Hanoverton, Guilford Lake, Lisbon, up towards Salem and Damascus, Washingtonville, and right down Route 30 and Route 11, closer to the West Point area, and down towards Calcutta as well. This is where the rain gets really heavy, really some real frog stranglers down here, stranglers, frog stranglers down here, closer to Weirton and Steubenville. So anyone heading down to Route 7 out of East Liverpool, hugging the Ohio River and heading down towards Toronto and Steubenville, that is no fun right now. We're going to get a new tornado warning down towards Muskingum County, as the Weather Service is still tracking some circulations down here. This is independent of what we've been watching up near Cambridge. This is the brand new warning down here. This is south of Interstate 70. So now we have a pair of tornado warnings down there. I don't think that southern one is much of a concern for most of my audience that's watching me on, used to watching me on television in the Youngstown area. If you're watching me and you're in the Youngstown area, again, we've been live streaming for a little over an hour now, and the bottom line is some rain, some rumbles of thunder, but a very low and severe weather risk from here on out in Mahoning County, in Trumbull County, and in Mercer and Lawrence counties in PA. Once you get down into Columbiana County, we still can't quite totally rule out a heavy, gusty storm before the evening is through, probably before the 9 o'clock hour is through, in our southernmost communities. So I think your chances really increase as you go down towards the Ohio River, and especially south of there. This is more down towards the Wheeling television market and down towards Interstate 70, where the risk overall is highest. Again, if you're watching me from our northern television market, Warren, Niles, Southington, Newton Falls, Sharon, Wheatland, West Middlesex, Hubbard, over towards Mercer, Grove City, Greenville, all those places, rain and rumbles, that should be about it. The rain's not great news, but at least you're probably out of the woods in terms of any severe weather threat in many of those locations. I'm going to pause for just a second and post one more thing on social media here, so just bear with me for just 1 second. All right, we are back. Again, a couple of tornado warnings in southeast Ohio right now. And the heaviest of the weather that's closest to our television viewing area is right down here, coming into Toronto and East Liverpool in the next 15 minutes or so. Heads up there. over towards Ohioville into western PA. A lot of Beaver County is going to get in on some of this activity. This is largely sub-severe, but it's a good lightning show and some really torrential downpours and exacerbated flooding along creeks and rivers and any neighborhoods that have some flooding issues. This is not great news coming your way in the next 15 to 20 minutes or so. So again, locations that we're highlighting here, including anywhere around and near East Liverpool, heading over towards Chester, Newell, West Virginia, and then down Route 30 into the hilly terrain across the Panhandle of West Virginia and into western PA. This is unwelcomed rain. These are areas that have had a lot of rain over the last 36 hours. And some intense rumbles of thunder, along with some bouts of heavy rain right now, the Austintown area, and especially to the west as you travel along Kirk Road, west of 46, Palmyra Road, heading over towards Route 45, heavy bouts of rain. Up in Trumbull County, rain and rumbles up here. Mineral Ridge, Niles, Lordstown, Howland, and over in Mercer County, not much to show you over here, and there hasn't been so far this evening. It's raining in our northern communities, but very little thunder and lightning right now from Greenville on east. So there's just not much going on, not much to highlight in Mercer County as we speak, but you'll get in on some rain and some rumbles certainly before the night is through. So let's do another storm track here. We'll take off the warning information. Give you some arrival times here for this heavy band of storms. Just track it out like this over the next half an hour or so. So heads up East Liverpool here in about anywhere from 8 to 10 minutes from right now. Again, communities surrounding East Liverpool as well. And over into Beaver and Butler counties in PA. This will eventually impact a lot of communities over there. This is pretty, summer-like thunder shower or thunderstorm moving through with a lot of lightning and some heavy rainfall rates. The specific rainfall rates down here around Island Creek in Toronto, this is up to an inch or so per hour. Pretty heavy rain. Now, we see rates higher than this all the time in the summer when we get thunderstorms, but these are pretty impressive rates for this time of the year in particular, and certainly this will be enough to cause more problems in areas that have already had some problems with too much rain since the start of the day yesterday. We had some bouts of heavy rain, especially last night and this morning in many of those communities. Elsewhere, rain and a few rumbles of thunder, although the lightning is a little less intense than it was 5 or 10 minutes ago in Mahoning County. A couple of positive voltage lightning strikes up here towards Niles. The tornado warnings that are on the board right now, we still have the one near Cambridge in effect until 9:30. The newest one is south of I-70 until 9:45. This Cambridge area circulation, it looks to me is going to go like this. And, if the circulation holds together, it'll be interesting to see if it does. But, it may be eventually a problem in the Cadiz area, maybe over towards Weirton as well. So those are the two tornado warnings that are on the board. And we currently, other than those two tornado warnings, we currently have no severe thunderstorm warnings on the board anywhere. But I'm going to stick with the stream here for a little while longer while we kind of babysit a lot of this stuff, because I just don't trust 100% just yet that we're not going to have any sort of warnings in our southern viewing area here before the 9 o'clock hour is through. Big thunder in Niles. A couple of commenters on YouTube saying, yeah, a couple of positive voltage strikes up there. Those are the ones that hit things on the ground more often and have a higher voltage and therefore produce louder thunder a lot of times. So, yeah, a couple of pretty loud claps right in the Niles area right now. Niles Mineral Ridge. A couple of our local cameras. This is not Columbiana, of course. This is Boardman. Showing the wet scene through here. It is definitely raining in the Boardman area. We'll see if we see any lightning strikes on our camera here. For those not familiar with this particular camera, this is up on a billboard near the Walgreens, corner of 224 and Market Street in Boardman. Men's Warehouse over here. McDonald's is over here. BJ's Brewhouse over here. And of course, in this direction is also the Southern Park Mall. We're facing west here towards the Canfield area along Route 224. And some heavy, heavy rain apparent there. Our other active camera right now is down in Columbiana. The banner is going to be wrong, I think, on this. Yeah, this one says Boardman, but this, of course, is the traffic circle in Columbiana. Once it gets dark, especially when it's not Christmas time and the lights are bright and the trees up down here, this camera, it's a little hard to see what's going on sometimes. The lighting is not great after dark down here in Columbiana. That is for sure. We'll take a couple of peeks at the ODOT cameras. This one is Route 80 and State Route 193, so around Liberty. Wet road surface there. Got another active ODOT camera here. This one is near Austintown. Route 80 and the 11 and 711 interchange. Visibility looking okay there. So, rain, but nothing too crazy in that particular location. And here's the radar loop in our television market. Take off the warnings here. Again, a couple of flood warnings out tonight down towards the Ohio River. Rain and rumbles moving through a good chunk of Mahoning County, southeastern and central Trumbull County right now. I'm looking up at our Boardman camera here in the weather office and seeing a couple of flashes of pretty bright lightning in the 224 corridor right now. Getting some flashes of lightning up towards Greenville and northwestern Mercer County, and a fair amount of moderate rain encompassing Columbiana County as well. Rainy night. One thing off camera, off screen here on my other radar source, I'm keeping a little bit of an eye on, is down in areas south of East Liverpool, Jefferson County. This little guy right here, just going to babysit that. That's a little bit squirrely looking. Right now, I'm not real concerned, but I'm going to babysit that for a little while longer. This is a possible weak circulation trying to form down here in Jefferson County. This is west of Island Creek in Toronto. This is with the heavier band of storms that's pushing north and east. Now, all of this is heading in this direction. So this will bear watching here for a little bit longer. It's definitely not a real tight circulation, but a little circulation that just caught my eye that I'm going to watch. It's embedded in that band of heavier rain that extends from Matwood Lake, the Carroll, heading out to the east, and just south now of Salineville and Wellsville. So Route 213, Route 7. Again, that's no fun along the Ohio River on Route 7 right now, heading down through New Cumberland, the Toronto area. Pretty legit thunderstorms coming northward, impacting the southern tier of Columbiana County from Salineville over towards Wellsville and East Liverpool. And the Weather Service is going to expire one of the tornado warnings. Looks to me like the Weather Service is letting these tornado warnings go. There's not much in the way of residual circulation with those. And again, those were down across southeast Ohio, pretty far from our television viewing area right now. This area that's getting heavy rain right now, though, in eastern Ohio is still under a flash flood warning. A lot of these communities had a couple of inches worth of rain last night into this morning. So Toronto, Island Creek, and even down towards East Liverpool. Ohio River is running high down here already. And so this is not going to help matters. We could be looking at our most significant Ohio River flooding situation in at least maybe a couple of years. I'd have to look at the data, but it's been a little while since we've had any problems along the Ohio River, along the Ohio-West Virginia border and the Ohio-Pennsylvania border as well. Should you this earlier, this is the gauge at East Liverpool, showing a crest Thursday afternoon at 15.4 feet. That would put it at minor flood stage, but only about a half a foot shy of moderate flood stage there at East Liverpool. And Wellsville is in a similar situation. After the crest, a quick retreat of the river is expected, as rain will definitely not be much of a problem later on this week. It'll just be gnarly outside. If you've been watching my forecasts for later this week, yikes. And, it happens around here in April, that is for sure. But we're going to have a couple of pretty gross days. Thursday and Friday with rain showers that'll mix with snowflakes and temperatures mostly in the lower 40s, gusty breezes. The weekend will be kind of a transitional period, kind of cloudy and kind of cool for a lot of Saturday, but then the sky clears. Sunday should be bright and sunny. It'd be nice if we were having the eclipse on Sunday rather than Monday, because I'm starting to become a little more pessimistic about Monday's cloud forecast. I talked about that earlier on social media and on 21 News at 6. So, of course, we still got 6 days to go until the eclipse and plenty of time to sort that forecast out. But today's data was definitely not great. We'll see what tomorrow's weather model data will bring. The models giveth and taketh away, that is for sure. Not only for eclipse weather, but a lot of different types of weather, including in some respects today's severe weather threat. Yesterday's modeling was pretty intimidating looking for today. Today, the modeling kind of backed off for our specific area, but just to our south, it looked still pretty impressive. And that's why overall the severe weather risk remains highest to our south this evening. But it's a rainy night now unfolding in a good chunk of our viewing area. Rain's pretty light once you're up into northern Trumbull County, but some decent rain along the PA-Ohio line now from Trumbull into Mercer County. Raining, rumbles of thunder, Youngstown area, the whole 224 corridor down towards Salem, Latonia, Washingtonville, Damascus, Columbiana, East Palestine, Unity, New Middletown, Lisbon, West Point, Hanoverton, all these places. Everyone's kind of in the same boat as far as the pretty hefty rainfall rates. I mentioned a few minutes ago, I'm keeping an eye on a potential circulation that, I'm not real concerned about, but I've got to watch down here in Jefferson County, right here. Just kind of caught my eye on that near Jefferson Union High School along 152, 213 near Island Creek. To my eye, this does not pose a big concern right now or a big threat, but I got to keep watching that and making sure it doesn't start doing anything other than being just a little bit visually interesting. It's a little bit of a curly signature in the radar data, and that's one of those locations that is pretty close to our radar sources. So the radar data, when it comes to wind data, velocity data, is pretty good once you're down into Jefferson County, Ohio, Hancock County, West Virginia, and close to those radar sites near the Pittsburgh International Airport. I don't see anything else that really catches my eye that is particularly threatening right now. Weather Service in Pittsburgh canceling that last little sliver of a tornado warning that was in effect for areas southeast of Zanesville. And with that leaves us with no active warnings. Severe thunderstorm or tornado. A lot of flood warnings, but no severe thunderstorm or tornado warnings currently on the board. Just turning into a rainy night. Too much rain, though. We'll take another quick look at some of these rain gauge numbers. Get a fresh look at this data. This is just going back 24 hours. We're coming up on 2 inches pretty quickly now down towards East Liverpool. About an inch in downtown Youngstown. And actually, let's see if we can get some fresh data into this graphic, because this may not be the freshest. See if these numbers change a little bit after we ingest some fresh data here. Because again, it's raining pretty hard now in a lot of locations. Looks like the numbers are not going to change much right now, but next time this graphic updates, they almost certainly will. All right, so the Weather Service office in Pittsburgh is starting to cancel the tornado watch for some of their counties. That does not include Columbiana. So they left it up for Columbiana here for a little while longer. So they started to trim a little bit out here. And I would expect before the 10 o'clock hour is through, a lot of additional counties to be trimmed out of this tornado watch. This is still just keeping my interest a little bit right here. This little weak signature on the velocity data indicating maybe some circulation trying to form. This is down here in Jefferson County, Ohio, west of New Cumberland, right now west of Route 7. This particular thing that I'm watching is tracking kind of towards East Liverpool like this. And is it worthy of a warning right now? No, I don't think so, but it definitely is going to have to be watched the next few radar scans. It's just a little bit of a signature in the data that is going to have our attention here for a little while longer. But I did mention a few moments ago, we no longer have any active severe thunderstorm or tornado warnings anywhere in Ohio. A lot of flood warnings. No severe thunderstorm or tornado warnings right now. I'm going to stick with this stream for maybe another 5 minutes or so, just to babysit that potential circulation and make sure it doesn't strengthen or anything. Assuming it doesn't, I'll stop the stream here in about 5 minutes and start gathering things and getting ready for our 11 o'clock newscast tonight. Don't forget, you can always stream our newscasts on WFMJ.com, the Storm Tracker 21 app, and the 21 News app as well, in case you're not watching us on an actual television. And a lot of us, that's the way we consume data these days. It's on our little devices. And if you're a cord cutter and you don't have an antenna and you don't watch local TV at all, but you do want to check out our newscast tonight, I'd invite you to do so on any of our streaming platforms. If you're a Peacock subscriber, especially if you pay for that tier that's, I think, $11 a month or something like that, you can watch local news stations on Peacock that way as well. So I'd invite you to do that. I think the free Peacock, or not the free, the like $6 or $5 Peacock subscription, I don't think on that tier you can watch local stations live. I think I'm right on that. Overall, the lightning is not quite as intense or as tightly clustered together with this activity heading up into the Route 30 corridor. Just heard a loud rumble of thunder out here in downtown Youngstown. That startled me a little bit. Overall, the lightning is not as condensed or organized, I would say, closer to Toronto, East Liverpool, heading over into Beaver County, PA. A lot of lightning and thunder out there, but it's just not quite as clustered together as it was. But yeah, this is probably the lightning strike that caused the thunder I just heard. That guy right there, that plus sign right there, that's probably the lightning that just produced the big thunder clap that I just heard outside here in downtown Youngstown. Our studios, our television studios, are on West Boardman Street in the heart of downtown Youngstown, right across from the police station. And, it's always interesting when the thunder rumbles between the taller downtown Youngstown buildings, and we're on the top floor here in the weather office here in our studio building, and so we're pretty close to the roof here in our weather office, and so we're pretty close to the action. You can hear when it's raining hard, when it's thundering loudly. We even had a roof leak a couple of times in this office, where really heavy rain pooled up on the roof just above our heads and started to drip into the weather office. Never really what you want to see. All right, the last couple of scans of the radar down in Jefferson County, south of East Liverpool, is no longer that concerning. Don't really see anything tightening up with that potential circulation down there. So with that being said, I think I'm going to stop the live stream here at 9:35. An hour and a half is good enough for one day's work. I will have more posts on social media, of course, before 11 o'clock newscast, keeping you up to date on what's going on. Thanks to everyone who's been watching, whether you watched for a couple of minutes or you've been tuning in for the last hour and a half to my live streaming coverage this evening. I really appreciate you watching. Thanks as always. I will see you on 21 News the 11 tonight. And if you're an early morning riser, check out Jody White's, or actually it'll be Jimmy Wendelek's forecast tomorrow morning on a Wednesday morning on WFMJ.